Yeah. Back again. Conversations of the Heart. Season 2, Episode 14. All about emotional health. All about emotional intelligence. Today, with the incomparable Stauna. It's going to be a dope conversation. I'm looking forward to it. For sure. Shout out to It Takes Two Cleaning. It Takes Two Cleaning Services. In Atlanta, if you need an apartment, your house, your 2 houses, your 3 houses, I know how y'all living down there in Atlanta. If you got 2 or 3 houses, please go book up for the services. And here we go. Drums, please. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm all one today, Queen. I'm all one today. You already know.
I'm very quiet today.
Oh yeah. I'm sure that's going to change. So I know you as I don't even know if I call you by your first name anymore, but I think since I've known you, I don't know how long I've known you now, but I've always called you Queen because you are one. That's how I address you. And that's just what it is. But for the people who don't know, this is Stauna. She is what? She's amazing. No, I'm just kidding. She is an HR executive. If you want to learn how to negotiate your salary, please go. Ask the Queen here. She'll tell you how to do it. She is the co-founder of Voices Inc. She is a diversity advocate, a philanthropist, a speaker, just a damn good person, to be honest with you. And somebody that I am blessed to know, and I salute all the time. Appreciate you. Hey, my favorite girl. Oh, okay.
Hi.
Favorite girl. All right. Yes, she is a favorite girl of mine too. I appreciate you. So today it's all about sipping and unpacking because when we get together, we sip.
Sorry, I had to sip early because
maybe a little more me than you.
What, the sipping?
Yeah. But nevertheless, cheers to you and salute to you and all of your success and everything that you've been doing. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Cheers to you.
Yes. So today it's a conversation
can I just say this before we even start the conversation? I just want to full disclosure,
sure.
Right? Mm-hmm. The technical difficulties that I had getting on led to the fact that I'm gonna ease up a little bit because I have no pants on or no bottoms, right? just full disclosure, we're amongst friends, right? We're all good. But I have my merch. Like I have my merch. I just want to.
Oh wow! Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope I didn't expose myself.
No, you absolutely did not.
Okay.
You exposed that, and that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is off of the Tillman Unlimited collection. I'm not gonna self promote today.
This is the merch.
Queen. Yes. See. Yes.
Just had to plug right quick.
I really don't like to plug myself too much, but I can always count on you to absolutely promote me. Thank you so much. And today, I know this is backwards. It's supposed to be on the other side, but we're talking about emotional intelligence. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about today. It is a topic that is dear to my heart, is dear to your heart. I know it's dear to your heart too. And it is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I definitely want to get this started the right way. Oh, Eddie Shays was good there, brother. So
hey, Eddie.
What I want to know from you first is, why is emotional health so important to you?
A number of different reasons. I think you can make the case for the importance of emotional health in different ways, right? I think in of itself, it's innately just important. And often my challenge has been that while we center around mental health, we kind of throw emotional health kind of just in the basket. But it holds its own space, I find. And we don't give it enough recognition in that when we speak mental health, most likely we speak about, behavioral health. And you think about persons who have challenges as it relates to, chemical imbalances and things of that nature who really struggle. And so that's where the light is really shunned in that sense. But the emotional health, that's everybody, right? That's everybody in just managing through or trying to understand how to navigate through emotions, how to navigate through emotions of others, and what that really feels like. A lot of places are doing mental health days, and it's really an emotional health day, but we don't care enough for that emotional component of things, in just how we're feelings, giving even words to the many feelings that we have. And so many of us don't even have the words to describe what we're experiencing, that we bottle up or we choke it. And it's not necessarily so much that we have this ongoing piece. Like, some people are not necessarily suffering from depression, but they're depressed, right? They have that day or they're having that moment. And so we have to care for all of that. And you don't have to be labeled anything or what have you. We all have challenges and concerns as it relates to just ensuring that we're emotionally available to our own selves in the first place. So for me, it's supremely important. Mind, body, soul, spirit, energy. And so, caring for that spirit, soul self, really more so the soul self is where that emotional piece comes to play for me, which we'll get into, obviously, the measure of emotional intelligence as it's prescribed, empathy as it's related more so to the general public, and the importance of ensuring that we take care of that side of us.
Very well said. So now, you mentioned emotional intelligence. So the definition, I pulled up the definition here. It says, emotional intelligence is the capability of individuals to recognize their own emotions and those of others and discern between different things. Right?
Yeah. There's so many different definitions sitting with emotional intelligence, and we use the word a lot, and Dan Coleman really, coined this, and more so we adhere to it more so in the work relationship and how we work with people. But for most everybody, it really centers more to something that would make sense for all, which would be empathy, right? And we oftentimes navigate through the differences between empathy and sympathy. Well, the emotional intelligence is a quotient. It's the measure of how much emotional awareness you have of yourself and of others, right? The empathy you demonstrate is where you're able to really step back and recognize a person for who they are and where they are. And that means you often hear the, step into my shoes piece, but people step into the other shoe with their own size foot. And that doesn't really work, because that's what you assess. Well, if I were this person, I'd do that. So I don't, and in understanding you don't own their lived experiences, right? To be able to say, well, that's what you should do. Well, maybe the best thing is that I'm operating from the best place I know how, based on my lived experiences, based on what I understand, and based on what I've learned so far. So if I'm recognizing that you're operating from that perspective, I might approach you a bit differently and just accepting you for where you are and really getting to understand. It's similar to diversity, right? It's staying curious. It's looking for the understanding rather than making an assessment, and just considering that everyone is operating from their best self.
So with that said, because you said a lot right there, especially it's real stuff, and also just stepping into somebody else's shoes with your own size foot. I like that. That's a quotable right there. I'm gonna pin that right there. So with that being said, emotional intelligence, I think across the board, whether that be in relationships, friendships, work as well, and I think sometimes. And I'll start with the career, because sometimes on the job, I kind of feel like the emotional piece a lot of times gets taken out because it's business. It's business as usual. There is a job to do, and there's a certain level of humanity and lack thereof, right? Of empathy, compassion with certain things, because it's like, well, this is a place of work. This is a place of business. This is a place of just getting it done. And I don't really care, or have the time to deal with, let's just say, some of the things that may be impacting the way that you work, right? Because the job has to get done. And not all, of course, it's not all encompassing of all organizations.
Yeah.
But it is out there. And that's why a lot of people sometimes do tend to leave certain places of business and work, because there is a lack of empathy and a lack of compassion, and a lack of emotional intelligence in the workforce and in the workplace that ends up making kind of a toxic environment.
Yeah. That's huge. That's a huge point. It was funny because I do a lot of conversations around diversity, empathy, emotional intelligence, EQ. What does
Oh, I
that
know you.
mean? And the importance of EQ in our leaders, right? And recognizing the challenge that most workplaces have with retention, simply because 80% of people leave their jobs because of their leader, their people leader, right? Whether it's a manager,
All the
supervisor,
time.
what have you. And it's not feeling that your personhood is recognized, your feelings matter, and not really having that really expressed to you and experienced by you is often why people will walk away, and not even say that's the reason why or what have you. Many more workplaces are getting keen to the idea that you don't separate yourself from your emotion. We're humans, right? We come with a lot of emotions in every arena: work, home, vacation. I don't know where you are, your emotions are part of you. And so we are understanding more so now the importance of EQ, right? The emotional intelligence quotient, which is seemingly said to be by Harvard professors more valuable than IQ, right? How you relate to people, your ability to really have an overstanding of the other, overstanding of yourself, right? Knowing that I'm operating from a place. I will literally come into work sometimes and I'll say to my employees, I don't have it today. Like, I am at like 50%. I'm just having that kind of day, but I'm clear about that. I'm recognizing that. And so I might dial it back and limit the amount of meetings or the amount of interactions, or take some moment to just find more of what you need. So it is being recognized. I think we still have a long way to go. There are a lot of places who don't encourage that. And not that we're speaking about diversity, but diversity has helped move the needle, right? Because people have come in with their feelings, and workplaces have made it more acceptable to have the discussion about how you're feeling surrounding diversity, especially what we saw happening throughout last year. So there is a greater acceptance now of, having this emotion at work. The challenge we have is a lot of leaders don't know what to do with it when it shows up, right? It's almost like we're not people, like you're a person,
Well, but
but just super disconnected. So essential to the progress that we will see, we know now that getting a job, building your career, growing your career is going to hinge really, 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 really a whole lot on your emotional intelligence, your ability to work with others. You may have the information, but if people don't want to work with you, you're probably not going to go too far. It's about aptitude and altitude as opposed to the attitude. So definitely a lot of focus on that in the corporate arena as it relates to just understanding that. And I got an email today. Funny, this morning I found an email so I could take again my EQ assessment. So yeah, as executives, it's often top of mind as it relates to where you are with your emotional intelligence quotient.
Perfect. So you brought something up.
Did I?
Something that me and you always say. And that's the part of overstanding. Right? That's something that is one thing to understand you, yourself, and others. But it's another thing to overstand. I think that's something that is another layer and another level of emotional intelligence, right? Because I guess I could just I'll use us for as, I feel like I understand, you as a person, as an individual, you as, like, what you go through on a daily basis, right? But then there's another part, to another level to the friendship that I overstand you, to where I'm like, you know what, she needs space, she needs me there, she needs this, she needs that. And that's the piece that I feel that if we could apply, right, to the workplace, on a different level, right, but still apply those same principles of understanding and understanding your employees too, right, to where you're building that rapport, you know, with your employees too. I think that's something that's super important, is building that relationship, building that rapport. It doesn't mean that it has to be super personal, but what it means is that I have a keen understanding of where this person is coming from as an individual. Therefore, it will allow me to communicate with them better and to manage them better, right, as an individual, and know where they're coming from. And I think that part of understanding and now the higher level of overstanding, I think, is something that should be, like, I don't know if it can be taught, but it's something that should be sought after. Like, I want to understand my friends. I want to understand the people that's surrounding me. I want to learn about them in that way. So I know how to build with them. I know how to communicate. I know how to be there for them. I know when not. I know when to go back because they need space and because of boundaries too, right? Yeah. So I think, you know, just what do you think about that?
I do think I coined my distinction as it relates to overstanding or understanding. Having an understanding for something, for me, it's having the basic tenets of what that thing, you know, what's evolving around that item. Having the overstanding is saying that I'm now feeling with you, right? I feel that expression. I'm in it with you. I know that. I know that feeling. I know that thing. That's what that means. And in any relationship that you have, trust being at the most important end of it, communication. When you get to really know a person and you spend time, whether it's, you know, in conversation, calls, seeing them, etc., that's where that happens. That's where that build happens, right? That withness with the person, if that makes any sense. Did I lose you? Did you lose me?
Yep, absolutely did.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries. No, I'm just saying it definitely correlates to the empathy. It's more of the not just feeling for you. Like, I understand, I feel for you. I get it. I get what you're saying. Is different than I feel with you. That pain that you're experiencing, I literally can feel it too, or I could recall having felt that before. It's more with than a for. It's the separation for me, which is also the distinction often made between sympathy and empathy. Really understanding that you're in a world of people. You know, we all know the examples, right? You grew up with your siblings, same house, same experiences, but you walked away with something different. You react to things in a little different way. And so that offers where you need to have that overstanding, like where we're not necessarily the same, but I could feel with you that feeling that you're feeling. And that's very different. That's very different. For most people, we get stuck at the understanding, like, oh yeah, I understand because you explained it. That's one thing. Overstanding, I feel it. I feel it. Yeah.
And with that overstanding, I feel like when you take it now from friendships and business and you apply it to actual, even just your romantic relationships, I think...
Terrence, I can't speak to romantic relationships. I don't know what those things are.
Shit, you know what? I barely do too. But nevertheless, you know, but what I mean is just on a level of getting to know somebody or spouse or whatever of the case is, having that space, like you said, to not only to understand, but to feel.
Yeah.
You know, and we deal with that also just in regular life too. Like when we look at a lot of the social injustices, it's like, oh, I understand.
Yeah, how does that feel, right? When someone says, right? So, you know, we probably have multicultural friends all over the space, and when things that are happening, where someone says, I understand, what do you walk away with when you hear I understand from a person, right? I'm asking you this. Like, what do you walk away with when somebody hears you speaking and there's like, oh yeah, I understand. What do you walk away with? What is your feeling from that?
I'm like, no, they definitely don't. Like that. I mean, you know, it's, well, I mean, it depends on who it is. But if it's somebody that's just, I don't really know, and we're just, you know, just having a conversation, they say, "Oh yeah, I understand." And it's just like, do you really understand? Do you really, bro? Do you really? You know, especially with everything that we've been seeing with all the social injustices and things like that, and people say they understand, but if they overstood, if they overstand, that means, like you said, it allows them to feel. And if you feel, you act different.
Well, it
right?
often
Like,
requires that, right? It often calls out for an action, for something different, because that's when you get to, this is coming back to things like not being my brother's keeper, but being my brother. That comes with the, you know, feeling that it's happening to you as well. And so something's happened to you, you want to do something about it rather than, oh, it's happening over there to you. And I understand that. And I'm sorry, I might be empathetic even, but is it empathy or is it more sympathy? I'm sorry that's happening to you rather than I'm feeling it with you and really want to do something about it. And that's sometimes I think where things get crossed, where, you know, persons ask, is empathy something that can be taught? It can, because it's something that can be practiced, right? But you have to get to the space of awareness of it. Am I even aware that I'm often offering sympathy, not empathy, right? Have I engaged the parts of me that allows me to feel what somebody else might be experiencing so that I could really think about it more highly? Or am I still just looking at it like it's outside of me? Am I attached to the humanness that I have in said person? And if we stepped in and really just recognized the humanness of each person, the unique thing that we all share, the thing that ties us all together, that thing that the je ne sais quoi, right? If we connect to that, how different might it be? Because when you approach me, like at work, for example, somebody approaches, send you an email, you know, we could get with the professional, you know, nasty nice happening. But I often try to step back in that I'm not clear on what that person may have been experiencing in that day, in that minute, in that hour, right? Especially if it's not a behavior you've seen before. Give them some grace, right? Because at times we need it as well. So in finding that human connection that we all share, you can have a thought that something could be off for that person today, and what they're doing is not about you. 99% of the time, what we do is not about the other, but it's about ourselves. So what is happening for that person as to why they're reacting or acting in the way that they are. And if we recall that and just know that the events plus the response equals the outcome, we know that we don't control the event. I don't control the nasty email I might get, but I control my response. Say
that again. Just one time. Just say that equation again. You can't say that equation again.
Okay. Events plus response equals outcome. And you don't control the event. The event happens. What you control is your response, and that has a direct impact on the outcome. So I don't know what caused this to happen here, but it's important that I think about how I respond to it, because that will have an effect on the outcome. And if I am clear about the desired outcome I want from this thing, then I monitor what my response is going to be to get the desired outcome that I'm looking for.
And I think a part of, you know, the whole thing about understanding and overstanding, I think a lot of it is, can be drawn from the distinction of it's when you actually, it's like communication. So it's like, do you hear what I'm saying, right? Or do you understand what I'm saying? Or do you really comprehend what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Like that comprehension piece is an amazing piece, because you can hear me, but you may not comprehend what I'm trying to tell you.
So to stay in line, but to deviate just a tad, right? It comes to communication, effective communication. It also comes to onus, right? So there's a piece that I want you to feel with me. I'm hurting, and I want you to feel. I don't want you to be hurt. I want you to feel with me. So that comprehension of, am I trying to just give you an understanding of what that experience is by speaking the words to you, or am I trying to engage you to understand the feeling that this pulled out of me? Because while we may have different experiences, we may all understand the feeling of fear. We may all understand the feeling of sadness, etc. Right? So that's what we're generally looking for when we're communicating, but we're not often clear about that. And so there's a piece of, you know, I have to hold myself to account for, am I sharing appropriately? Am I making it clear what my experience is and what I'm looking for? I'm guilty of that often. Hands raised, right? and can't just hold it to the person and say they're not understanding, right? They're not listening well. Are they really hearing me? Am I communicating it effectively, that they are truly receiving what I am desiring from them? That's the piece. I find it's a two-way street, right? You may need something from me that I don't know. You're saying the words, you're speaking what your experience is, but I'm not connecting to the feeling to know that you need this level of support. Right. So where do we have that meeting of the minds, right? And that's what I'm saying. There's opportunity there on every single time, on both sides of the table, to really find, where do we meet? How do I make it very clear? How do I ensure that I am really asking for what I need, and to ensure that you're understanding, and are you opening yourself up to really listen with everything, not just the words.
And that's very, very true. Because I think we live in an area of life where I hear this phrase so much. Well, she should just know. He should just know. They should just know. You know,
operate on the idea that everybody is stupid.
Like, everybody's stupid to somebody. You know what I'm saying? And that's just kind of just the way it is. You know what I'm saying? But we do live in a place where we want things yesterday. And that includes just getting to know, building and finding that empathy, and they should just know how I feel, and they should just this and it. And it's just like, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that.
It's not realistic.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it took me a while, right, to get to know you, to understand you, right?
You're still learning me.
No, right. But what I mean, though, is you don't just meet somebody and it's just like, oh, I get it. You know, even if you've been around them for a year or two, or because people are always changing. They're always evolving. Even when you think you know them, they might go through a change. Everybody is evolving. Well, hopefully.
I hope so. Yeah.
Right. See? Exactly. So it's just a point of, it doesn't matter how long you've known somebody. So you have to communicate the things that you need, because it can change. The things I needed.
So I'm going to throw a monkey wrench at you. Sorry. What happens when you're not clear, that you're not even in the awareness that you don't know what you need, but you know you need something and you're looking for it?
So if you know that you need something, you just don't know what that something is?
You may not even know that you need something. Some people are very far in their awareness, right?
Right.
I've been there. My gosh, I raised my hand at all these different things. It's really navigating and rumbling through some of these things that I'm like, moment.
Right.
To say that you're reacting in a particular way, you're responding in a particular way, and you're not even recognizing sometimes that that's because there's something that you're needing. And then when you realize that you're not even sure what you're needing or looking for, but what you do know is that you're not getting it, which is what's causing the reaction. Right? There's so many different dimensions, and that comes back to this emotional health we're speaking to. And how do you pause, stop, and just take a pulse, right? And do some reflection about, wait, what is happening? What is happening here? What am I experiencing? What is this about? Not a lot of us do that. And so we just continue to go through, we just continue to act, and then we sour relationships, and, you know, we limit our careers and our personal lives and different things. So it's really, for me, at the crux of all of this, is truly coming back to the awareness of self, because all of this is ultimately really achieved when you come to the mastery of self. At that point, right, where it's a work in progress. You're constantly having to stop yourself and say, what is this? How am I showing up? What does this look like? What is this about? And when we stay curious, that's the whole thing. It's just about staying curious about others and about ourselves. And give people grace. We need it. So really trying to stay away from the judgment calls and really beg the questions. It's what I often try to offer and tell myself.
So with that said, you know, if I was somebody who wanted to increase my emotional intelligence, right, and my awareness and things like that, where would I even begin?
Self. It's the start. Right. It's the starting point. It's the ending point. If you're curious about why you're experiencing what you're experiencing, I mean, one, it's always great to speak to a therapist. You know, a lot of them are trained very well in getting you to see yourself as you're seen or as you're being experienced. And people always have the negative connotations to it. It's not that we're so broken. We're all bended. We've all gone through experiences that have helped shape us, banged us up, loved on all kinds of things. And so the intention here is just to pause and take a look, because we're so busy moving in the world. We're not stopping enough to really see how we're showing up, who we are. Are we choosing who we are, or are we still just the effect of what we've been taught all of our lives, right? And so the first step is the question. It's the curious question about, well, who am I really? How do I show up? Wait, how do I navigate through that? Maybe I don't know how to navigate through that myself. So I seek a therapist, several different platforms to do that. Like I go to a lot of them. Black Girls Therapy is one of the ones that I like more than others. There are other ones, but that, and then pick up a book. There are so many books that we could speak to, right? As to,
therapy is for men too. Don't get it twisted. Therapy is for men too.
Therapy is for everybody.
It is.
It is for everyone. I know you do. I know you do. It's for everyone, because it's really just, it's like a friend who is well versed in just working through navigating through mind and emotion, helping you get there. They're not here to fix you, and they don't have some magic ball. What they do, they have instruments and tools to help you to understand things that we're not taught, which I am still annoyed that we don't do better by way of that in schools and such. But it's really, how do you learn how to really take the pause? People, my phone's dying. I travel. A lot of people travel. And
be clear. No.
Stop it.
No,
Stop
be
it.
clear.
Stop it.
You travel. No, be clear.
I've been traveling forever. It's my thing. But when I realized somewhere 08, 09-ish, I was doing it so much so that I was just like, wait a second, what am I running from? I had a moment where I asked my question, what is this about? What is this telling me? What does this depict? And you know, I have friends, I have people who say, oh, I need to get away, I need to clear my mind. But are you really? So for me, I have learned, I now better understand how to do that, right? So there's times I go away, I'm quiet, I'm often on somebody's beach and in the evening, and I am very, very close to my center when I am near the water and the sky, especially at night. And so for me, that's where I am plugging out all of the things and just going into my thoughts about life, about me, about that. So you have to figure out what works for you. What's your center? But it's not going to be just going away. It's not going to be just sitting down. It's, what is your work? And everybody's journey is going to be different. Your thing is going to be different. Mine is often travel, sometimes a little retail therapy. Retail therapy doesn't clear your mind. It's just a distraction. Just like travel could often be a distraction. So it's, are you being distracted or are you actually doing the work? But it always starts with the self. How do I find myself? Where am I? Am I providing myself the empathy? Because if I can't give myself the empathy, am I giving it to anybody else? I'm sorry, I don't know. My phone is dying.
Plug it up.
Yeah. So I want to get up, but as I don't have any bottoms on, I don't want to, I don't want to be that story. Yeah. I'll do it in a second. It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
I think I'm a little okay right
now. Man, you said a lot right there too. So when it comes to
therapy,
finding just what you're looking for, finding that thing, right? Finding that thing that is gonna just center you, right? Some people even still don't even know what that looks like. You know what I'm saying? Some people still don't know what that is. And for some people, it's not even, it's what they're doing is not really what is centering them. They're doing what they're used to.
Yeah. And then it's cyclical, right? It's cyclical because you're right back to where you were. You go, you're like, I got to get away, fly out, you come back, you're there. And then, you're back to the stuff is happening again. I got to run, come back. It's here again. Because Bob Marley said, you're running and you're running and you're running away, but you can't run away from yourself. Which is the all important reason that the work starts with you. Get clear to understand who you are, why you do the things you do. Why do I get upset when this happens? Why do I react
What?
You need me to restart it? Told her she should have got her charger. All right. So what I'll do is so I guess we'll put this for part 1 and back. I know Stauna's back. Gonna wait for her to come through. All right. Stauna, can you tap in? Or you tapped in, right? Okay. Gonna join. All right. All right. That should do it, I guess. No? I guess she's having some more technical difficulties. Let me see. He gets back in. Oh, gotta love technology. Let's see. All right, Stauna. I just sent you an invite. See if you get on there.
Oh,
Hello?
there you are. I sent the request like 10 hours ago.
No, I accepted it, but it didn't go through.
Oh.
And then it said you were unable to join, and then it went into a whole bunch of different other things. So.
Oh, okay. So no. Can't call it.
Huh?
I see Facebook send me an email trying to get me my password so I could actually log in. But can you hear me okay?
Got it? Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Where the hell were we?
Good question. I don't know.
Man.
I don't know. Who knows?
I know we were talking about communication and emotional intelligence and things like that, and how that all encompasses. So as far as emotional intelligence, or let's just say even lack thereof.
Oh, so much lacking.
How does it affect the relationships around you, though? You know, I always feel that well, I'll let you go first.
How does it affect? I mean, you could go, but it.
No, ladies first.
All right, I'll take that.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, to be quite frank, speaking from just my experience, me, it has a huge impact on it.
Mm-hmm.
It really speaks to your ability to be fulfilled in the relationships you're in. And I'm speaking to relationships, not romantic relationships, although those are included, but all relationships, period, the end. Where you are in deep connection. As human beings, we are hardwired for connection, right? So where you're in connection with persons and you're deepening that connection, For me, there's a natural piece that comes with it, which is the empathy, which is I'm feeling with you, which is you're hurting, I'm hurting too. I feel that. And so when that is lacking from the other, wherever that might reside, it presents a challenge, right? It's kind of that feeling of you're giving and not getting. You may be getting somewhere else, but you're not getting that thing. And then understanding, well, what am I not getting that I need, right? Because you may be getting things in other spaces. So where deep connection resides, for me, empathy is right there with it. And so at the crux of all relationship, you know, employee to people leader, husband to wife, girlfriend, brother to sister, father to daughter, what have you. It's that empathy. But we see it play out in the world, right? Parents often act in a way in a space because they don't want their kids to be hurt. They don't want to feel that thing. They don't want to feel that. A lot of it hinges on the feeling. I'm not just feeling for my kid, and I'm feeling with them. With loved ones, that's generally what happens. So when you're not finding that in a relationship, that's when you question, is this really it? Is there really love here? When the person is not feeling for me the way I expect to be felt. So yeah, for me, it's essential that there is empathy for me in all relationships. Demonstrated. Let me say that.
Yep. And so shout out to North Star. She said we were on therapy, so we'll get back to that.
Oh yes, thank you, Denise.
Yes, thank you, Denise. I appreciate you. So yeah, so when it comes to man, how does it affect relationships? I think for me, it affects my relationship, like in a big way. I get along, like my best relationships, and this is friendships included. And they're like, for people who have empathy and for people who are who are really in tune with themselves, and me, because that is a part of it too. Like the friendship of how I view things is how can I show up for who interacts with me. Because if I don't bring value to any table, whether that be work, friends, relationships, then what is it all for? You know, I know everybody has things. My presence is a present. No, sometimes it ain't. You know,
my presence
sometimes
is
it's
present,
not.
Terrence. I just want to affirm. No,
for me,
I could go ahead.
No. For me, it is right, but there's also another piece to it. Though.
Yeah,
it's not just a shallow presence.
Right, but that's the thing.
You know
the
what I'm saying?
Quality of the presence. What presence are we speaking about? Like, can you expand on that piece? Right. You made the note of presence being a present, but present how? Right. Presence is different than present.
What? No. So what I'm saying is what I meant by saying that was sometimes you just being there isn't what's needed.
Okay.
Like you just hanging around isn't just what's needed. Like for me personally, I need people who are active and people who are in tune with themselves to be in tune with me.
Okay.
Right. And I could even, but that doesn't mean 24/7, 365. That just means that I need you to show up for me when it's time.
Okay.
That's all. Right. And so I say that to say, because what I was saying was the way I treat friendships and even work or whatever the case is, there has to be value to what I'm bringing to the table. I can't just show up. If I went to work tomorrow and I showed up and sat down and did nothing, I'm not going to be employed there much longer. If you show up at a relationship and you sit there and you do nothing, you're not going to be in that relationship much longer. It is what it is. And I take my friendships, right? There's always an exception to that. but I take my friendships as serious as that too. So where's my value? Like, what can I bring to the table? How can I discern also when they need me, when they need the space from me, and how I could show up and honor them in the way that they need.
Right. All important point.
you know, 'cause some people just show up and say, well, I'm going to be there for you in the way that I want to be there for you. But that may not be what I need.
But is that unlike loving a person the way you love rather than the way they need it?
Oh, absolutely. That's absolutely what it is. But most people use that with when it comes to just regular romantic relations. But I mean, in friendships, it's the same principle. You know what I'm saying? Show up and show out for your friends. You know what I'm saying? We all go through things. We all go through ups and downs and arounds. But it's like that emotional intelligence piece where it's like, this person needs me. Like, they need me. And it's not a 24-hour, it's like I said, it's not an all the time thing.
Yeah.
But it's the point of being in the village is to be in the village, is to actually do some work.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're spot on. And tying back to where we were before when Denise was speaking, we were speaking about how do you develop your empathy muscle? How do you flex it? How do you stretch it? And we were speaking about self, right? To focus on self-reflection, getting into the awareness of where you're operating from in your empathy at all, right? Do you have any? I mean, if you don't have any, you're likely a psychopath or sociopath. That's a whole different story.
I know you.
Deep into mental health.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully they get the help that they need. But so there was a definition of EQ. It's part of my executive learning. The definition that they have, and it's a lengthy one, but I thought it tied into a couple different pieces, right? And that being a set of emotional and social skills that influence the way we perceive and express ourselves, right? We develop and maintain social relationships. We cope with the challenges, and how we use emotional information in an effective, meaningful way, right? Because, and not because, but that resonated for me because it spoke to so many of the different components, especially that latter part when we were talking about friendships just now, in how you use the emotional information that a person is laying at your feet. What are you doing with that? And you were talking about showing up for a person, right? So when you're gauging where you are with your empathy, and a person comes and lays heavy emotional information at your feet, what is your response like, right? How do you receive that? Do you find that you're feeling it, or are you just hearing them? Because in most recent, I've had a week, a month, a couple months. It's been a time. And I was recognizing in some cases where I'm speaking, making it clear, I'm sharing the experience, sharing the feeling behind the experience. And the emotional information that I'm laying down is not really being accepted, received, or responded to in a meaningful way. In a meaningful way. And it's part of the gauging the emotional awareness of the other person, right? In seeing, well, where are they operating from? And it's not a judgment to say, oh, you're X or you're Y, but just recognizing where you're getting what you're getting. We talk about this all the time as it relates to, I'm not getting what I need from this person, but how do you put something solid to that? Some example, right? And so when you're laying that emotional information heavy at a person, how are they showing up in that space and time is a good gauge for where you're not getting the emotional prowess that you need from them, right? You're going to say something.
So, no, I'm going to say, so when that happens, what do you do next? As the person that's sharing,
yep,
and you're not receiving, kind of, like, it's either they're not understanding or comprehending, or they're just not showing up in the way that you need them to show up. Where does that communication come in, like we were talking about earlier? You know, to say, hey, this is not, you know, the way that I need to be handled, or this is not what I was expecting. Like, how do you communicate those things to
a person? I'm pretty blunt and pretty direct, personally. Whatever terms.
Did I say that? No, I'm sorry. Good.
So, I mean, in this particular case, it's a bit different. I was mindful of, have I experienced this with this person before? That would be a yes. Have I made it clear to them the experience from myself, what I experienced with them? That would be a yes. Do they continue to demonstrate those behaviors in particular times? Looks like a yes. So I can no longer engage with you because you've demonstrated my emotions, my feelings, and I'm necessarily very safe with you in the way I need them to. And so a few things have to happen. I should make it clear to you so that it's not misconstrued. I never like people walking without clarity. Clarity is kind, Brene.
Clear.
And so for me, it's the clarity of, I don't receive that from you. It's unkind for me to ask you to be other than you are, or you're choosing to be. And so that's no longer a space I will take with you. That person will not get to understand the emotional challenges that I might face, because they're not very responsible with it. They don't handle it in a meaningful way. And so that's where that is. I communicate that and I move in the action of it.
And I find that's also being honest with yourself, because what I find that a lot of people do is they will push and frustrate themselves and push because they want, the reason being is because they want
the person
that
to show up.
individual to show up in the way that they want them to show up.
Right.
They really, really want it. And they want it their way.
Right.
And it's like they're not seeing what's in front of them.
And that's fine. It's fine to want it your way, but it's unkind. It is absolutely unkind
to you.
No, to them.
And them.
Right. It's unkind for me to expect you to be something other than what you're choosing to be. If what you're choosing to be is this, you're not choosing to demonstrate empathy to me. When I've made it clear to you and we've had the conversations, at some juncture, I need to recognize that's what you're choosing. And I have to accept that that's what you're choosing. Maybe that could be different a different day. Who knows? But I'm clear. That's who you're choosing to be and how you're choosing to show up. And it would be unkind of me to call you to be something other than what you're choosing, because every man has a right to decide. I'm all about Bob Marley, clearly. And so I allow for you to decide, and I have to decide for myself. I can't ever decide for anybody else. What I always get to decide is for me. And for me, I am stepping away from that. I'm not offering that to you anymore. And it depends. Sometimes it means I'm not stopping being who I am, right? So that comes up at times as well, where you find that, you know, to stop doing this would be not being yourself. Well, if it's going to call for me not being myself, then I have to remove myself from you, period. That's life. I'm not opposed to that, right? If
me either.
If being in connection with you requires that I be other than who I am, I can no longer allow myself to be in connection with you, because that's unkind to me and you, because you're not receiving me. You're receiving the version of me that you're choosing, and I'm not showing up as my fully expressed self. So.
And I think people have a problem doing that, because, of course, because there's emotion involved, there's attachments involved, there is so much of the heartstrings, and I like him or her, or we have friendships for 20 years, whatever it is.
Look,
right?
Both of my hands are raised. Hi. Right?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to walk away from relationships you've built over time that you're recognizing, and you know it. You usually know it.
Of course.
Because there with empathy is intuition. It no longer serves you, but it's hard to let go. And so you muddle and you fight and you rumble and you accept and you accept and you accept. And it's either you want something so different that you stop, or you just get to the point where you refuse to just accept what this is. But at some point, the universe pushes you to where you need to be. It's just a matter of how hard and how long it will be. And for me, that's not left to, you know, just friends, family. I mean, anybody, to be quite honest. If you're not safe for me, then you're just not safe for me, and I have to separate myself.
And family be thinking they have the VIP section with you, and sometimes it's like, you can't sit here.
No,
you can't travel with me first class.
But that's the challenge that we do when we create these boundaries, and then we have all the exceptions. Like there are particular behaviors that I will not accept, and it's irrespective of who
Period.
is bringing it. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
whoever is bringing this behavior into my space that is unsafe for me can't come here, irrespective of what title you hold. And oftentimes, the reason why we're not left in our safety is because we have the exceptions for, well, I don't allow this behavior, but if it's my
For
mom,
you.
dad, sister, cousin, brother, whatever the case is, they could come. So then you still have the behavior. So you're still dealing
Mm-hmm.
with it. What's different? Right? So yeah, no. Particular behaviors that are not supporting my health, my emotional health, yeah, disallowed, irrespective of who is bringing it. And you just have to work to the firmness of it. I knew it when I did that with my parents. And when I mustered the energy and got that done, then it was like, oh, who can't get
Anybody
it?
can get it.
Exactly.
Anybody can get it.
Exactly.
Not everybody can fly first class with you. I mean you.
You know what?
It
We
is what it
digress.
is. Yep, we will. So that's good, because having that discernment, right, that we're talking about as far as being in tune with yourself and others, will allow yourself more opportunities to be good to yourself.
Indeed.
You know, by doing a lot of the things that you just said. You know what I'm saying? By distancing yourself from certain people, no matter who they are.
No, you're right. You're distancing yourself from certain behaviors, from certain energies.
Mm-hmm.
People protect my peace, protect my energy. Well, you're distancing yourself from particular behaviors and energies, not particular people. That's a different thing, right? If I'm just saying I'm staying away from Terrence, I'm just staying away from Terrence and all that comes with Terrence. That's different.
Right.
If I'm saying I will not allow persons to come near me who are liars, whoever is a liar is part of that population, and i.e. not welcomed here. And so when we get clear about the separation, is it really about behaviors or is it really about individuals? Then it's different, because then it calls you to act. It calls you to act. It calls you to act in very challenging spaces, but the reward is so great on the other side. Because that is the peace. That is the protecting your energy from behaviors that don't support the positivity of it. That is it.
So protecting yourself from behaviors versus protecting yourself from people.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, be clear, there are certain people you need to separate from, but
because they have the behaviors that you don't subscribe to. Right. Indeed.
And that's dope. I think that's amazing, because when people do, they, I have nothing against like saging and, they do all these things, right? Saging and this and that, right?
What are you saying?
But what I mean is that, no, what I'm saying is that, and that's the kind of, energy and clearing and cleansing, right? All that stuff, but they still keeping the same people. So it's like, I don't care what you do around your house. You could be doing spraying Lysol, sage, all this, what you want, putting candles and Febreze, whatever you want to do in the house, you could do up and down the house 24 times a day. But it don't matter,
because
if you don't separate the energies.
But it's a similar thing as we were speaking about previously, right? As it relates to if you're escaping from your reality, hey Dev, hey, if you're escaping from your reality, and I'm just using travel as the example, because you need to get away because you're clouded and so much going on, etc. Then you get away, but it's still there. So when you come back, it's here, it's with you. And so you're never really getting away from that thing because you haven't done the work to really clear it. So yes, you could sage and you could light the candle and you could do all of those pieces. You could meditate. But if you're still allowing that behavior, those energies around you, and when I say energies, I don't mean people, although the people come with energies, but I really mean that energy where a person just has a terrible attitude or just really mean to you or they dishonor you, right? And you're being, and you just allow that to keep coming, but you keep praying it out or saging it out. You're not going to get the result. And you're then like, why is it not working? Because you're not taking the action, right? What was it?
Faith without works is dead.
So it comes to doing the work. It goes back to the idea of the self-awareness. And it's when you're in your self-awareness, you get to ask your question. well, why is this not working? And not why is this not working like woe unto me who is doing it to me, but more so what am I calling to myself? What am I doing to like start there. Just always safety and I. What am I doing? Where am I operating from? You can't control the other people, but I promise you, your control is of yourself, and that self-mastery is really what you're aiming at. Because when you start choosing intently and deliberately what really best aligns to you and drives you forward to where you'd like to be, what success looks like for you in every area of your life, it will come. But it's a work. It's a journey. I'm in the journey. I'm working. Don't hear me speak and think like I have all the answers. That's not it at all. I'm constantly in effort to work and learn and understand.
No. She got the keys. Don't have to play yourself.
I am searching for. I'm constantly in my learning. I am always searching for, and looking for better. I'm always trying to best myself. The version of me. I'm always trying to best myself, and I'm proud of that part of myself. Like that's my favorite thing about myself is that I'm open to new information, to change, and always learning. Always learning.
And that's something that I can honestly say about you that I've always loved about you. That I've always honored about you is you always are striving for better, to better yourself. In whatever ways that is, you know, it could be a career, it could be self, spiritually, whatever that is, like you are always looking to better who it is that you are.
She's trying.
So you don't just do the sage and the Febreze, like you do it all. Like you do the actions.
Did you just say sage and Febreze?
It's all of it. You know what I'm saying? All of it, all through it. Like you do the work and you manifest for yourself.
And I don't pretend it's easy. Don't listen, we falter.
No.
Okay. She stumbles. But the importance is feeling fast and feeling forward. Right. Finding
you
your
stumble,
way
but you don't fall like that. You stumble, but you don't fall too often. I'll tell you that.
Falling. I might,
I know. I get it.
A little bit.
I get it.
but,
I know.
But it's a work.
Believe me.
It's a work. When I got to really learn, and I think years ago, Maslow's hierarchy, I really saw that and thought about that self-mastery. And then when I connected self-mastery and understanding what I thought for a long time was being selfish, wasn't. Right? If I show up and if I can be the best version of me, that is the best for the collective we. And that's what I came to understand. So doing that work and really taking care of me, I say different things. My friends who may be on here might hear me say things like teddy bear, which is where, there was a photo that I had where there's a man, fake Jesus, because Jesus wasn't white, who had a teddy bear in his hand and behind his back. And there's a little girl and she has a teddy bear. She's like holding on to, like, no. And not realizing what's behind his back is better than what she's trying to hold on to. So there's that for me. That's always like calling me back to where I need to be. And airplane, I say to my friends all the time, the airplane, I don't know, maybe it's because of the traveling so much. It just stuck. It just, one day, right? Like you put your mask on first before you put anybody else's mask on, your kid or whomever. Because if you're not okay, how can you help ensure anybody else is? So the need and the intention to ensure that you're okay supersedes that of anybody else.
And that's where I raise my hand, because that's something I've always. All right.
Sorry, I'm just drinking. Go ahead.
Truth. I'm always about the truth and honesty. That's where I struggle a lot.
Yeah.
That's where I've always struggled. That part right there of always putting your mask on first.
Yeah.
That's something that is always that I'm always in a rumble with. That's something that I'm always like.
How are you making out with this rumble, Terrence? Help us understand. We rumble with it.
Oh, now I'm on your couch. Okay. I think this year I've gotten better. I think, between last year and this year, I've made some good strides with it. It's definitely not where, I think I would where I would like it right now.
Yeah.
But I've made leaps and bounds to me.
So why? What makes you find that? What makes you so uncomfortable about that? Where is that rooted?
About making strides?
No. About taking care of the self first. Why is that uncomfortable for you?
Well, it's not that it's me. It's just me putting on the mask first. I think.
Right.
I think I can always
be uncomfortable about that. Why is that
I'm about to
challenging?
tell you. Well, it's challenging for me. It's because I think I'm always going to be good no matter what. I think that's just the way that that's the way that I operate. That's the way that I am. I always feel like I'm, if the plane's going down, I'm gonna be good no matter what. I might be the
so
sole
plane's gonna
survivor.
crash, but you gonna be good.
I'm not saying it's right.
No.
What I'm saying is, sometimes that's how I think. It means I might be the sole survivor. It doesn't matter. But I'm gonna save however many people that I can, because I always feel like I'm gonna be good. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna make sure that, you know what, if I'm gonna be okay, I can handle it. So let me make sure that I can save this person, that person, this person, that person, this person. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm always gonna be good. And that's not, obviously that's not the truth, right?
No, but that's where you operate from. That's where your mind gauges from. That you have this comfort that I would beg to challenge that, in even saying that you're not so concerned about your being okay as much as you're concerned about making sure everybody else is okay. Right. I don't know that it's a belief that I'm gonna be good as much as I'll figure it out. But I've got to make sure everybody else is okay. Like you're not a lot, but you see here, interestingly enough, how it depicts the others if they're their inability, or it highlights your thought that there's an inability in themselves to make sure that they're okay. I'm just gonna leave that with you.
Well, yeah.
Just gonna leave that.
I mean, you can leave it. We can leave it. But I don't. I never see it that way. I never say like, oh, like they're incapable.
I don't know that you're thinking about them. I'm just saying, see how that depicts that, or how that lends to that idea. Then that you're necessarily operating with that thought in mind. But there's that sitting someplace.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you could actually look at and say, well, maybe somebody could, from the outside looking in, could say, yeah, you know what, maybe you think
that's one thought.
Or
I'm just saying,
yeah, that they can't fend for themselves. Which I don't think
you're not trusting them to, because you trust yourself that you will make sure it's okay, but you're not. It may not be.
I'm always bet on me.
You should bet on you, right?
Yeah,
right.
To get the job done, I'm always bet on me to get the job done. That's a whole fact.
Bet on me too.
I know. Oh, Lord knows, I know. All right, MJ. That's
all day, every day.
Exactly.
But just lending to the idea, I'm just throwing it out there for any person else who might be, in that space, and I do see or hear that a lot from my men friends, female friends too, but in different notes, in a more so in that caregiver space, just blinded by the idea that I have to take care of everybody. However, my men friends more like I have to save than take care of. A little different. That's the curiosity I have for that, and where that sits. I mean, it sits. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I think I've always, and I think life experiences for me plays a part too. I'm not going to get into it, but just things that I've had to do, to things that I've had to take care of, people I've had to take care of, things that I've had to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes you gotta grow up early, and you gotta just get it done. You know what I'm saying? And then when you are the person that people go to,
yes,
all the time,
yes,
you tend to just say, "All right,
accept it.
I can take care of it. I'm good," and I have the shoulders for it, right? But then it does get to a point where it keeps piling on and piling on, and piling on and piling on, and then yes, I know I've had conversations with you where I was just like, yo, I feel like I don't have it. Like I don't have it. Like I'm tired. I'm I'm passing out. I'm sleeping. Went to bed for like so many hours because I'm maybe not sleeping, or, for other things, and you know what I'm saying, where it's just I crash.
Right.
But then I say, you know what? But boy, do I have that? I have that rapid battery, because I'm up again. Right. You know what I'm saying? I took a little crash. You know what I mean? But I'm back. And you can recover fast. You know what I'm saying? Cool.
So from a male perspective, as you're here sharing, right? What does that do as far as your recognition of empathy or your ability to recognize? I know you're deep in your empathy practice and your muscle.
Yeah.
But thinking, as you speak to your peers, your friends, colleagues, whomever, what do you find as a way in the persons that you communicate with who are male in their thoughts on empathy? Because part of the reason I'm asking this is, as I stay curious and ask questions, in recognizing how women view empathy versus men and how that translates into romantic relationship, even, where often we, and I'm speaking for the we, are looking for empathy, looking for you to understand, looking for you to just get that, whereas often we're met with trying to fix.
Yeah.
So in my journey, and I've had to learn, right, especially in relationship. For me, I'm a big fixer. I always have been. So if you come to me with a problem, and that means to me you want me to fix it, right? And I want to just get to it. I'm very solution based. I want to figure this out so we can fix the problem. We ain't got to talk about it no more, right? Like, we're good, right? And then especially if it's like Monday we're talking about this, Tuesday we're talking about this, Wednesday I'm like, yo, like, why are we still talking about this? Like, that was my thought process a lot, and I just wanted to fix, but that really wasn't what was needed. It was more so I wanted you to hear me, listen to me. I may have just needed to just let it off for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I might be okay. I don't need you to always be a fixer. So especially in relationships, I had to learn, like, when the person really wanted me to actually be that for them, or I will ask them, hey, listen, is this something that you need, like, do you need help with, or do you just want me to listen? Because if you just want me to listen, I'll listen. But if you want an ear for solutions, I'm here for that too. So then it became, I'm giving options of both lanes versus me taking it above myself and not giving you a choice, and then just saying, blah, I'm just going to just fix and take it from you to fix. So I've learned to take a step back and just say, hey, you know what? What do you need from me at this point in time and at this moment? And that's where my growth has been, as a man, to say, hey, I don't need to fix everything, because honestly, not everything is that serious where it needs to be fixed. But I think for a lot of us, it's like, well, like, why don't I hear about, like, your coworker Shanice? Like, you know what I'm saying? For like the last 3 or 4 days, I gotta hear about Shanice every time I walk through the door, every time we're on the phone. Like, I don't care about Shanice. You know what? We need to fix this. How can we deal with this so I don't have to hear it? But a lot of times it's sometimes that comes with territory. It is what it is. But some people just aren't looking for you to fix everything. They just want you to just listen, to comprehend, to understand, and to allow them the space
to share. Right? It's the connection.
Right.
If I am sharing, and I don't know that I listen, single, right? So I don't know that.
Me too.
I don't know that I have this, but in my connections that I've had, I think there are definitely times where you just want to hear, you just want to be heard, right? And you want a person to empathize. I use that word in relationships so many times. I just need you to empathize, which means I need you to just understand what I'm feeling and get it. Say, yeah, I hear you. I could see that. And that's really it. And so often it's just, what are you going to do? I'm not looking for all of that. I just really wanted you to hear this thing that's on my mind, in my feelings, and just acknowledge and feel with me. That's it. Right?
Yeah. It took me. It took me a while, I think, to get to that point.
But it goes back to the encouragement. I mean, the acknowledgement and just the place or the request for empathy in our relationships, right? If we're feeling, I want you to acknowledge that. I want you to feel with me, and I don't mean for you to be sitting here hurt, but just to understand that I am in a hurt space right now, or I am in an upset space right now, or The thing I think I was saying to someone, it's very interesting as a female sometimes that the person, especially in relationship, the person who hurts you is the person you're looking for to fix it or to correct it or address it, right? To show up and make it okay. And even in that, it's really looking for the empathy. Can you not understand why I could feel this way rather than the who's right or wrong? So often we find ourselves in this. I hear this all the time from my guy friends. I heard it from you too. I didn't do anything wrong. And you're totally missing the whole point. It's not about did you do something wrong or did something right. You took an action that caused this reaction, and the reaction that caused it me is the one that doesn't feel good. Can you just appreciate that? Can you just acknowledge that? Right? It's like saying, I didn't do anything to hurt this person, but I am so sorry that they're hurt. I know what that feels like. That's often the ask rather than the I didn't do anything wrong, or I didn't even do anything. Maybe that's the problem. Right? So again, there's such a need for empathy in relationship. Not just the understanding, I understand, but the overstanding. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I was getting to as far as the overstanding part of it. I think what we talked about in part one was the overstanding part of just who we are as people and how we build relationships, right? Because it's like you said, like when you build and you start to overstand people, your friends, relationships and things like that, then you will feel.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between feeling it and not feeling it, right? Because now if I feel it with you, now I want to take what?
Ownership of
action.
It. But that's the thing.
Ownership and action.
Being respectful enough not to.
Right.
Or asking me. And Curtly, I see your question, right? Are we responsible for other people's feelings? Absolutely not. I take no responsibility for what you feel. But I can take an understanding for. Like it's
What do you mean? Like it says, are we responsible for other people's feelings?
Yeah.
You mean like if
I'm not responsible for anybody's feeling. This is what I think and feel. I am not holding myself responsible for how you feel. I'm responsible for my actions. I can show care and concern for you having a feeling that is less than good. Absolutely. And this comes from the fact that in my seat, I've terminated a lot of people at work.
Yes.
And people have a lot of different reactions. My only offering is trying to do it with as much dignity, integrity, and empathy as possible. How you feel on the back end, I don't have any control over that because the action is the action. The event is the event. It's like you're breaking up with a person. I have to do what I have to do. I can't not do it because you're going to feel something. I don't hold myself responsible for your feeling. What I can do is do it in the best way possible. That's what I hold myself responsible for. What you feel, what the feelings you walk away with, you own those. Can I be empathetic? Would I be, when I'm breaking up with you, am I, I'm saddened that you're feeling this way, but I have to do what I have to do. It's happened, right? And in the same way, if you're walking away from, I get it. I get persons having to do what you have to do, and you're left with your feelings, and you're left to deal with them. But in no way am I going to hold responsible for what you feel.
Okay.
Boyz II Men novel? Really? Really?
I'm gonna slow down the process.
We're not often looking for you to sit here and take the blame. It's not even. That's what I'm saying. So Boyz II Men, I'm gonna have to have a talk with them. But we don't want the finger pointing, don't want the blame, just really want the acknowledgement and the understanding. You're my partner. You should care that I'm hurt, irrespective of what happened as to why I'm hurt. Whether it's somebody yelled at me or you did something that got me upset, I am upset with you, but it's less upset and more hurt. And me, I'm often more so I'm disappointed because that is not an action I expected. And so I just want you to tend to the fact that if you care, and I think I've had to use this with someone a lot, that come away from all of these pieces and really focus on the fact that a person you care about is hurt and care for that. care for just that. Come away from the blame. When you sit back and you go through it and you see what you could have done differently, then you say, you know what? I apologize for this outcome because I could have done this differently. Or even if you couldn't have done this differently, this is the outcome. I hate that you feel that way. I know what that feels like. You know, that's different. That's different. So Boys to Men, we gotta talk.
Sometimes taking blame and faking is quicker, so let's put it to the short-term resolution.
Yeah, I mean it covers things for a second, but then something comes up again, and what? So then here's the thing: when you Boys to Men, Novel, Mr. Smalls, Curtly, when you guys are taking the blame, if you will, right, from a situation. For me, it's like you're not showing up as your fully expressed self.
Hell no, I ain't taking no blame.
It's not authentic.
Yeah.
Right? It's not real. And what are you sitting in? And often it's comforting at the time, but we know, like, okay, you're just saying that. And that doesn't feel good. I need the truth and the honesty always. Because truth is love. Even though it doesn't feel good sometimes. But eventually, what the outcome of it is always great.
Right. And what happens is you're going to always, at some point, you're going to always, that's like something it's like a rat race. You're going to always keep doing it. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's.
I'm gonna find both of you, okay? When this is over.
I ain't taking blame for like, nah.
Yeah, that's not what we're intending or looking for. It's not a matter of blame or finger pointing. What we just really want to be is heard. Do you hear me? Can you see me? If you love me and care for me, can you just recognize that I'm hurt? And that should be enough for you to be concerned and care that I am hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's the one thing is faking the blame and taking the blame for something. You know what I'm saying? It's really just, you know, to me, I can't operate like that. You know what I'm saying? I have to show up.
Boys to Men told you to do it.
Nah, I'm good, boy. I might have to be on my Jodeci. Yeah. Nah.
Wait, what is happening here?
Nah, we gonna leave that for another day. But yeah, no, I think it's very important, especially when it comes to communication. Wait, you will lie about this. What else have you lied about? Don't put it in yours, but own yours over the issue. Pretty much, it's a whole fact. And with that said, that's pretty much exactly what I was gonna say. So it's right there in the comments. So that's me. I'm not gonna take certain things because then you're gonna end up doing that all the time to kind of say, oh, you know what, this worked the last time. You know what I'm saying? You know what, I'll just take the L. And at some point,
it's inauthentic.
We're not taking
It's inauthentic.
I'm not taking no more L.
No,
I'm not taking L.
True connection lives in authenticity. If you're not going to be your authentic self with me, then why are we here, right? I'm looking at what Gemily is writing. And you can read that to me. But
when you say if I'm hurt, you should recognize I'm hurt.
Yeah.
Facts. I can fully agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, you could take all the L's, Nova, but it's not just about the L's. And no, it's not to give L's. It's not.
No, it's not just that. But like you
be very forthcoming. I don't generally subscribe to right or wrong. I think they're constructs, and I'm not going to go into the great detail about that. But that's not really what I subscribe to. I walk away from things considering what could I do differently. I walk into things and consider what led a person to take the action that they did, what were their experiences, what happened, the reasoning. And sometimes it's not kind, or it's just motivated by fear or something to that end. But it's really rooted in that space of not just right or wrong, just authenticity, recognition for your feelings, and that goes to the empathy in just recognizing my person is hurt and I'm sorry that they're hurt. I don't own their hurt. I didn't make anybody anything. And that's always the trigger. You made me, look what you did to me. It's like, I didn't do anything, because no one is doing anything to you. They're doing things that you're responding to. Your response may not be good. Your experience of that thing may not be okay, may not be kind. But as I said, 99% of the time, people are taking an action that has absolutely nothing to do with you. It has to do with them.
Okay, so I think for Jim Lee, she said, but doesn't that go back to the question asked earlier, if one should be responsible for others' feelings when you say, if I'm hurt, you should recognize I'm hurt. Okay, so that was one whole comment.
So yeah, recognizing I'm hurt doesn't mean that you're taking ownership for my feelings. On a very basic level, we'll use an example of a child, right? Child runs, falls, scrapes their knees. Mom, dad didn't do it, right? It happened, but they're sad. Come here, give me a hug. Hate to see you hurt, right? So it's that same idea that being concerned and showing care and kindness and compassion for a person you care and love, being hurt by something that happened, whether it's your doing or otherwise, is the ask. Not owning their feelings, or attributing that you did something to them. You did something that caused the feeling sometimes, perhaps, but not owning the feeling for yourself.
So you said, Mr. Small, you said, 90% of relationship issues are poor communication and false perceptions of thinking that we must always agree. I could understand, acknowledge your feelings, but still not agree with you. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Absolutely. I might say some things that might be hurtful to you. And sometimes it's hurtful to you, not because of me so much as because of you. And let me explain that. There may be particular traumas in my life that cause this to be a trigger for me, right?
Facts.
That may not be a trigger for anybody else. Sometimes you probably look around like, wait, what happened? Like, I just said this. And this person may have had a very bad experience with something, and this, whatever you said or whatever you did, triggered it. And so now they're hurt. And so I'm saying that's not, you didn't do something to them as much as that is their experience, that they're hurt in that space, right? So sometimes it's not anything that you did. That's why I try very often in my relationships not to say you did this to me, but to say my experience is. And then sometimes to offer up, or again, self-awareness, question myself, where is this coming from? What is this about?
Right.
This should make me feel this way. So it's kind of a combination of both. But yes, the communication, the clarity, the understanding. This is where the knowing your partner, right? KYP, knowing the person, is really helpful to understand, because then you're catering to loving them the way they need to be loved and showing up for them the way they need because of where they're operating from.
Right. And a lot of people don't really understand triggers, you know, and to really get to know your partner, to understand, you know, and to really say, hey, you know what, like, I know this person. I've heard them say certain things in passing or in conversations, and now I can understand how this could trigger this person. I even dealt with something like that at work, where the manager she didn't understand like why this other coworker of hers reacted in a certain way. And I went to her and I said, well, she said like the other day in casual conversation, she said XYZ. And it's like, there's a reason why. Like, she thinks the way that she thinks, and that was a trigger for her. She was like, oh, I never thought about that. And I'm like, if you get to know not just your partner, but if you pay attention to even what your employees, your coworkers are saying, you can understand exactly why they're reacting
the way they are
in this way.
But that's big on everything. And I see, you know, for the KYP and KYC is your customer.
Yeah, know your customer. Yeah.
It is essential to, and that's again the empathy. It's to stay curious and get the understanding, get to know whomever it is. If you're investing in that person, I'm not getting to know everybody. That's not the case, right? But the person's close to you and understanding where they're operating from, big piece. I mean, a big move that I have with all of my people leaders is knowing your employees. We have set structures for model office as to the ratio between people leader and employee and the expectations of what that looks like. To know the person, know the pulse of where they operate, you would know how to best respond. It's kind of what also shows itself when we have the diversity conversation. People don't know. They're not curious, or they've been in spaces where they have not been exposed to, and they make assumptions, right, based on narratives that they've heard or seen in small vacuums at times. When I'm often having the conversations with them, it's, you don't know. So that's the big thing why I keep saying stay curious about yourself and about the other person, understanding. She's upset about something you said that you can't connect as to why she'd be upset about that. Let her calm down, have the conversation. I know I said this, and you get upset. Let's talk about that. Help her navigate through why is this thing such a trigger for her, and vice versa, the guys too.
It says, I'm not responsible for how you react. It's triggering, but I didn't build that trigger.
You didn't.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not about being responsible.
Me, though.
It's not about being responsible for the trigger or how they react. It's really about having the empathy to understand why they reacted that way. So now you can respond differently to that. Because if you're like, yo, it's not my problem, at the end of the day, now I can respond in a different way, or maybe in a more volatile way, right? Yeah. Versus me understanding where that trigger came from, why, where it was rooted in that person, and say, oh, you know what? I know where that comes from. Let me respond in a completely different way. And you more so lead with love versus probably some other thing that you might have wanted to lead with. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you didn't know that person, or if you didn't understand that person, but you're not responsible for it. But you are responsible to how you respond to that person's trigger.
Well, so and Stress said, how can you remove the trigger so I don't have to tiptoe right? You can't remove the trigger. You're not responsible for the trigger. But you can help a person identify that they do have a trigger and get the help or the direction they need to understand the trigger and how to respond when they're triggered. And also for you, that you're not made to respond in a negative way when you know they're being triggered. Like, I know that's a trigger for her, so I know she's gonna get upset. Let me not get upset too and make it a bigger thing than it needs to. So many of the time I go back to this whole thing, right? Secret hears me say this all the time. The events plus response equal in the outcome. So this is the event. How you respond is definitely having an impact on that outcome. So if this is a trigger, if you find a person is acting absent of what seems to be reasonable, you gotta ask the question. There's gotta be something underlying there. They may not even be aware of it. But sometimes that's the opportunity for where there is a calm space to come and lead with love and ask that question, saying, hey, I know we were speaking, this happened, not sure how we got there. Can you help me out? Like really come in with that. I just want to overstand. I just understand. I want to overstand where you're sitting in so I can support you in this. And knowing that if it's a trigger, it could come up again. But hopefully the person gets the help, gets the better awareness of self for them, so they could operate differently the next time a trigger comes on. I have triggers, and I try to talk myself when I see them show up, but it doesn't mean that I am always aware of when it's happening. But I do find it, and I thank God that I'm able to block them sometimes and not take.
What kind of triggers you got? What kind of triggers you got? Well, do you want me to share? You see a Delta commercial or a JetBlue commercial and you get triggered? Because
that is, but no, I've read so many books, but in speaking to some of our abandonments, and I do have abandonment issues, right? And I got to understand a little bit more about where they come from, and so how I react in spaces. So I'll give you a short story. When I was, I don't even know, 4 or 5, I can't remember. My big brother and his friends were playing around, hanging out, and they had a little circle, and I stuck myself in and was like, hey, what are you guys talking about? And they were like, get out of here. I think my brother said that. His friends probably wouldn't. And that for me, I was able to find that is where I developed a fear of being where I'm not wanted. So I will not place myself in position unless I'm invited. Like, I'm not going to come to your house. I'm not going to enter. If we're friends and I know everybody, but you're having a conversation. I'm not just going to come into your conversation unless you invite me over or pull me in. And I recognize that about myself, which is interesting because at work, I don't do that. But I had to learn to undo that, understanding that's a trigger, something that happened when I was probably 5, right?
Wow.
No, I say this all the time to people. I have this deep fear of being where I am not wanted, was definitely getting in the way of many different things in my life. Like, I'm not going to, I want to do this, but I'm not going to, because I don't, so, right? And so it's a deliberate action to push past that. Like, you know, fear is not a factor. It's not real.
Right.
But it was a work until I got to understand where that came from. And it goes just back to some of the things that happened in our childhood that persons who were adults in that time would not even think that would be something that you'd walk away with that feeling about, but you did. So now anytime that feeling comes up for me in a way that you may not even see it at all, the feeling comes and you react. And so now I have to be clear about when that feeling comes that, is this real? This isn't real. So that's me oversharing a little bit the example of a trigger showing up in different ways. It showed up in relationships, you know, romantic relationships, family, all over the place. This fear of being where I'm not wanted, even if there is nothing confirming I'm not wanted, just the air or the sense that possibly, maybe, anything. This is why I'm not okay. I don't do well with no. People who know me know that no is not something that I accept, I allow, or anything to that end. Anything that sounds like no becomes a trigger for me, even when it's I can't do it right now, but still. So I had to get clear about that. Like,
I know. Listen, I already know.
But it's an interesting thing. I found for me in my own self-examination, a lot of triggers, a lot of the challenges came somewhere at between that, like 5, I want to say 5 and 8. And a lot of people I've spoken to about things that are showing up in their lives happened in that small time frame. And so
no female likes no.
I think a lot of people do okay with no. I just don't like anything that sounds like not yes. Like anything that's not and here's a silly thing. I'm gonna give another example. I am being so sharing today.
Vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
Yeah, vulnerable.
Right? One of my exes, right? I don't ask anybody for anything. I support myself. Right?
We know.
Great. So I did it, and I just asked. I think I asked for money. I just said I needed money, something like that. I don't know, and I don't know if anybody believes me when I say things like that. But I said it, and I did it to 2 different people. I was kind of dating 2 people. Okay, great. And there was a person who I did it to, and I asked for money. Or I sent something like I need, and just sent me money, right? And there was a person who was like, "Oh, what do you need it for?" Mind you, I didn't say how much. And the person was trying to gauge how much I needed to know, right? Like what I needed for. Just that response of, okay, what do you need it for? Was like, oh, for me, that felt like a no, right? And of course, being a sound mind, it's like, what are you talking about? Right? So I had to sit with myself like, really? What is that about? So I realized I had a very particular relationship with no, but I also understand and got to know that my mom, when I was much younger, always said she would never tell us no. She might say not right now, but she would never say no. My dad spoiled me rotten, and so I never heard no. So I have been very uncomfortable with anything that sounds and feels like no. And I understand that that is not well aligned to the world we live in. So as an adult, I have to choose differently. So
I think you have a question.
Yeah, I got vexed. I didn't even get vexed as much. I just missed him. Like I was like, oh. And
He said a man could never.
I just dismissed.
That's a fact though.
What,
men can never
do
that.
Do what?
What you just did.
For money, they could probably do it in different ways. They probably ask for something else and get a no.
For multiple women, get it from one and then dismiss the other. Like, I mean, that's true. Nah, man, not gonna do that.
It's
But you
different
know what's
roles.
interesting? I've never been the girl who got things from guys.
That is true.
Just didn't.
That is true.
I
Yeah, but that's a different story, though, Stauna. Let's not go down that road.
I don't know where that.
Let's not go down that road. Like let's stay on. Let's not go down.
We weren't going down any road, Terrence.
No, I know.
I was just speaking
like,
to triggers and how they show up and how they can be very simple and very silly and come from a place that has no clear direction to yourself. But yet still you are feeling the effects of it. And it could be far and wide, right? From just me having the challenge with the nose to just my brother and his friends and feeling now I don't want to be where I'm not wanted. And here's how that shows up in relationship for me from time to time, where I'm always assuming that I may not be wanted. So anything that sounds like that to me, I will go away. I will go first.
So point of the story, fellas, if she asks you for money, break it off. You better break off some change. I don't care if it's 50 cents or $1. You better send something in the Cash App. You know what I'm saying?
He was triggered.
Just a little deposit.
Maybe he was triggered. I've had guys talk about the fact that there are women who just have an expectation that they're supposed to give them things or give them money. And I know a guy who that is a trigger for him. So maybe he was triggered. But I'm thinking, you know me for as long as you've known me. Like, do I ask anybody for anything ever? No. Give her the Barclays account. That's right.
That's
what I wanted. I wanted no questions. I said I wanted money to send money. But he wasn't unfair in that he was asking what I needed it for so he could gauge how much he needed to get to me. He needed to send to me. It was definitely from a good place. It was when I was just like, because I didn't have a need. So there was no answer. I was like, you know what I mean? I really was just testing the waters.
You were just testing.
And
you were just testing the waters.
There is something about testing and how you shouldn't. So lessons learned. Yes, Barclays in pounds, please and thank you. Yeah. But we digress. But I was really just wanting to connect the fact that our triggers sometimes are very far and wide, and still being able to show up empathetically for people when they're in a triggering space, even when you may not know it. But at any time, if you see a person is acting outside of themselves, outside of what your general experience of them is, good question to just ask. Did I look at him differently? In that moment, really quick, and then I checked myself quite quickly to ascertain that it was very reasonable of him to ask a follow-up question when I did not make it clear exactly what I needed. I didn't have a clear ask. It was money didn't speak to how much I wanted. So yeah, that was very valid and fair for him, but I think I still kind of held on to it. I was not as evolved when this happened. Let me say that. The one who did send it right away, I was further evolved, but this person also just immediately sent it.
Put your Cash App information in. Put your Cash App information in comment.
What's my
Put your Cash App information in comment, please.
What is my Cash App?
And y'all better not say no.
I don't know.
My
Cash App was not a thing I was looking to do because I just felt like
Venmo, Zelle, put all that.
Zelle, definitely Zelle me. Zelle me.
Put all that.
Zelle me.
I mean, I don't care if it's a quarter. You know what I'm saying?
I'll take I take everything. The coins, the dollars. I prefer the ones that don't ching, but it's all right. I'll take it.
It ain't gonna ching when you Zelle. It goes directly into the account.
But yeah, just wanted to share that. The triggers can be far and wide.
Yeah, triggers can be far and wide.
And are you aware of your triggers? Right?
Exactly.
Are we aware of our triggers?
And triggers could be far and wide, and you don't know what people have grown up with. A lot of people, some people have been abused. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, some people have been abused. Some people have come from a lot of different situations, and how they've grown up. Their view of women, their view of men, how they've seen their parents be treated, and whether that be the guy or the girl or whatever the case is. And so a lot of times that actually stumbles upon your adulthood life, and it's like it's how you view.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The people that, and actually the people that you choose too. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and that's something that we can't ignore. You know what I'm saying? Do you now tell the person you're dating what your triggers are? I think once it gets to a point, I think once there's been, I guess, vulnerability established and safe spaces established, because a lot of people not just gonna pop up and just start, you know, just saying, oh, hey, these are my triggers. Like, there's got to be a safe space there, or a safe space established to open up in that way, to be vulnerable, to talk about those triggers. Now, yes, there will be people who just go, oh yeah, this and that, and I've been through. But for a lot of people, especially in our community too, you know what I mean? Like, they're raised differently. You know, it's, especially here in America, it's like, what happens in this house stays in this house. Don't tell anybody your business. Don't do this. Don't do that. You know, blah, 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 blah. Keep everything to your chest. Don't be talking. You know, so a lot of times it's going to take that safe space to start opening up about those triggers. You know what I'm saying? So I think, yes, you can open up about the triggers, but I don't think it's going to be an automatic.
Yeah. Do I tell the person I'm dating about my triggers? I think I said before, I'm pretty blunt a person. And so I appropriately share as it, as I'm aware of it. Like I just shared with you all, which is, my personal self, and I'm pretty open to book, even though I'm very closed, whatever that means. But yeah, you know what? It's interesting because the person I'm dating is generally, or not generally, the person I've dated, have been real catalysts for me recognizing my triggers. Right? It's been the call to do the self-reflection, because after the event happened where you've been triggered and you've reacted in a particular way, and you're like, wait, why did I do that? You know, at least that's some of what's happened to me. I remember an ex of mine who we were together, and I was upset, and I don't remember why, but I saw him. He was on the train, I was on the platform, and he was calling me, and I just ignored him like he didn't exist. And I don't know why I did that. And after I got home, I was just like, why did I do that? Why was I so mean? And so it was like, what was that about? So sometimes, what, Terrence?
Now you just made me almost spit my drink. Sorry, excuse me.
But now it is the call. Like, I think relationships for me are really intended to help you really see yourself and how you're experienced. And so it's really an opportunity for me. If my relationship is not helping me elevate, and by elevate is calling me into the awareness of myself, whether it's happening by activities or you're saying to me, babe, I see that you do this, like, what's going on? It is. If I'm not growing as a person here by recognizing more of who I am, and then having a clear decision about who I want to be, then what's the point? So yeah, I am sharing. This is a trigger for me if you see it happen, but it probably happens where I am in it, or it's happening, or I'm like trying to stop it. Like, there are times where I'm just like, I'm triggered and I'm about to write this text message, and I got to talk myself down, and I go away and I come back, and then send. And Apple foolishly hasn't developed technology to recall text yet, and so I am often like, okay, listen, I was having a moment. Is what this was. So yeah, I am definitely often very forthcoming about the challenge. I think I'm often more doing that than anything else. I don't know how to sit there and speak about the great parts about me. I think I'm great, but I don't know how to do that. I could tell you though, yeah, this, and you should watch out for that, and I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress, but yeah. Yeah, I do use WhatsApp. You know what? Thank you for that, Stretch. For very particular conversation, I've started to, like, when it's something that I find I'm in my moment and I may want to pull this back, I sometimes defer to WhatsApp because I know I could pull it back if they haven't read it yet. Yep. Good plug for WhatsApp.
Very true. You can delete everything.
Yeah, but if they've read it, you can't. If they've read it, it just
no.
I know that now because
Yeah, that's a different conversation.
Yep.
All right, cool. Yep. All right, yep. Understood.
Evolved.
Listen, I think, yeah. I kind of figured this was going to happen. It's like 10 o'clock.
Terrence, I was so clear that I was going to stop at 9 to get some work done. So I'm just going to tell you guys a few things, yeah? Long day, busy work day, rough week. I'm not going to get into what happened. Janisha, I got to call you because I have to call you. Something happened that I need to talk to you about. Anywho, so I'm getting ready to come on here and have this conversation with Terrence, and I know what the topic is, but I don't know where he's going to take things. And that's how just that happened. So I can't log into my Instagram, which I usually do it on my iPad for things like this. I'm not often on Instagram. I pop in, I pop out, so I got to get through a lot of messages. But so I'm trying to get on. I can't, so I got to email them to send me the things. I can do the password because the email attached is old, blah, blah, whatever. So Terrence is calling me because I said I was getting through, was about to be on. And I'm about to like answer the call, and I have my glass of wine with my raspberries and literally spilled it all over myself. And was just like, you know what? Hey. And so all of my, mentionables and everything, just, wine. And so I had to get in the shower and then come back and sit here with no bottoms on. And then I'm sitting here like, well, I kind of finished a bottle of wine. That was not the intention. Here. So
yeah,
it was a little bit of a challenging start. So I wanted to, on the back end, apologize for my tardiness due to technical difficulties and unforeseen circumstances. And thank you, Terrence, for your patience and your kindness.
No, it's all good. I think either way, to be honest with you, we still almost got, I think almost 2 hours. I think we started 8:15. I think anyway. But we're not gonna act surprised because you knew this was gonna happen. Like
no,
this is what we do.
I was very intended to be done in an hour. I was. I was.
And now you
because I have other things, other priorities, and now I'm just gonna continue to drink my wine and finish my night.
I don't know why you're surprised.
I don't know why you're surprised, but clearly a boundary that I did not set well with myself, about myself.
There is no boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay. The last time we did this was July
of last year,
and we went. Yes, and we went for like 2.5 hours.
Did we really?
Yeah. No. That was a thing. We stopped and started like it was a thing. So this doesn't surprise me.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Denise.
Yes.
It's interesting because Terrence and I have some of these conversations full blown out all the time, and so having it here just presents an audience. You know what I really miss about this, and I listen. I don't know Instagram well. Let me just say that is the opportunity to really get people more interactive in the conversation. Like we're trying to read, trying to speak. The ability to really have you guys in the conversation and really share your thoughts and your opinions and your experiences about so many of these things. And I hope whatever we touched on had something for you in there, whether it's just getting into that awareness of self, working on your self-mastery, continuing to drive forward to being best self, giving people that grace and that empathy, and just remembering that the events plus your response equals the outcome. To manage for those responses. And when you're thinking about your response, consider what you want your outcome to be. I'm always asking myself, like, what is my desired outcome in this? And that should have an impact on how I respond to a thing. So just wanted to lay that at your feet. But thank you all. Thank you guys.
And just remember empathy. Lead with love, lead with empathy, please.
In all things.
Work on yourself.
All around.
In all things.
Yes. Give
because
grace.
that's going to carry you in the boardroom, your friends, your family, your personal relationships, and that's going to also help you also to create those boundaries, to honor yourself.
It definitely is.
It's like,
it definitely is.
Yeah.
I just want to say, from the boardroom perspective, like when I got the email this morning that I had to take the EQ assessment, as I said, the idea is that emotional intelligence, that quotient, is more valuable and important than the IQ quotient, right? We hear about IQ all the time, but just understanding that the way of the world today is very innovative, and technology is taking a lot of opportunities away and creating new ones at the same time. But the intrinsic value of the empathetic muscles that we have is not something that could be done by computers or, in artificial intelligence. They cannot manufacture that. And so really taking an opportunity to understand where you're operating from in your empathy and driving that is not just going to help success in your everyday relationships and partnerships, but really in your opportunities in the workplace, right? Your people will 100% of the time want to work with you if you have a good attitude, even if you don't know all of what you need to. But if you have all the information, your attitude is bad, that is just not going to leave you anywhere. So really think about, where are you in your empathy, and how can you continue to work on that for yourself, for your life, for your career, for your partnerships, for your relationships, and across the board. I just think it's something very important. And persons I'm dating are hearing about it a lot.
Yeah. And it's like we said, most people don't leave jobs. They leave their leaders. You know what I'm saying? For various reasons, right? So definitely, if you're striving to be the type of leader that handles your employees the right way, you got to lead with empathy and understand what that means.
Yeah.
Right. On all levels, it's just like you said. Emotional intelligence and emotional health ties in with mental health. But it is completely separate. And it's something that we all should strive to really be healthy. I'm big on emotional intelligence. Stauna's big on emotional intelligence, and she's really big on the emotional health piece, which is probably why we spent so long talking about this. Because it's just super important. And the importance to not just communicate, but to comprehend, right? To understand the importance to not just understand, but to overstand. And just that overstanding allows you to feel, not just to just say, oh, cool. Right? Like, okay, I hear you, but I feel it. It's like we said, I feel it with you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's across the board for everything. And if more people really got this concept, especially when it comes to all of this stuff with the social injustices and things like that, if people could feel the way that a lot of us feel,
the empathy,
the world would be better. People would be better. But they just see it from afar, and it's like, oh, I understand. Okay, God bless. I'm gonna send a check, or I'm gonna send something, or I'm gonna donate. Don't worry about it. Black Lives Matter. Cool, right? Nah, like cool. No, like, but when you really feel, that's when that change
happens,
and it activates action, and it activates the action, right? And that's what we want. We want the action. We want the action in the world. We want the action in our families, and our friendships, our relationships, and in work.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You absolutely can.
Yeah, she answered for me. Yes, no she answered for me. It's cool. No problem. But yeah, I definitely feel like empathy.
Yeah.
And there, of course, there's more things that can change the world, but empathy is something that people really.
I think empathy.
They don't get how powerful a tool it is. You know what I'm saying?
It is a change. It is a change in the world, because if you're stepping outside of yourself and you're that kid in Gaza, right? If you're stepping outside of yourself and you're that person in St. Vincent during the volcano, if you're stepping outside of yourself and truly thinking of what that could possibly be like, even if you're a little bit in your shoes still, you might think differently about it, right? If you're stepping outside of yourself and you're thinking you're the person who's driving down and seeing the cop cars and really your heart is racing and you're scared. You're thinking a little different. We are often too removed from our humanity, and the empathy is the call back to that. It's a call back to that string that we all have, right? We've all felt the feelings and saying there's an experience that causes that feeling. Do you hear me? Do you see me? We all want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be recognized. And that's what it is. So when we got into the relationship, conversation, it was really about that. Being seen, being heard, not just understanding the words that I'm saying, but understanding what you're feeling, the words that I'm sharing, and the feelings that I am expressing. So really thinking even just about this emotional health piece, as you know, big for me, and that give more light to not feeling good emotionally. Not just saying, yes, I'm okay, or I'm having a good day. You asked me the other day how I was doing. I said, you okay? And I said, no. And that's okay. Honestly. Too. Yeah. I'm not okay today. It doesn't negate the fact that I have life and I have abundance of things that I need, but my feelings are not cared for right now because they just went through something, and that is okay. So call it a mental health day, whatever it is you need, especially considering this pandemic and persons just not having the opportunity to truly connect, and us being human and hardwired for connection and not being able to satisfy that. Give some grace, have the empathy for the person who's not feeling it. But yeah, take care of your emotional space. Get more in touch with what you're feeling. Give it a name.
It's true because even when you look at like the pandemic, like all this stuff that has happened in the past year, people have lost their jobs, people have lost family members, people have lost an abundance of people, income, right? And people grieve every day by what they see, even on the news and social media. People's emotional health is not good.
We're being traumatized every day, right?
Yeah, every day.
I haven't really watched the news because I can't stomach watching another Black man being killed by a cop. I can't. And I'm battle with, I don't want to be desensitized to it, where it's just another thing that happens. And at the same time, I don't want to see that, right? Because it hurts, because I feel it. And in honesty, I'm an empath. And what that means is, it may be hard to understand, but when a person is in pain, even on the television, I feel it physically in my body. For me, it's centered in my hip area, where I will actually feel physically the hurt. I feel a pain. And so it's how do we care for ourselves in light of all of what we're exposed to, and we understand that's happening. So taking that time, check on your strong friend, and I quote that because we're all strong, we all have strength in our own way. But check in on persons, hey, how they're feeling, and you be honest with how you're feeling, right? Give the vulnerability of, I'm not okay today, or I'm having a hard one, but be mindful of doing that with persons who are actually curious in understanding and hearing that, right? Most people just ask them, how you doing, just to hear that, I'm okay, next. But care for yourselves in this time and this space, man, because absent of pandemic, in everyday life, in the world that we live in, it's just hard. It's just hard. And it doesn't mean that you're ungrateful for the good that you have, to know that there are some challenges that you're facing any which way. We all have them.
Right. And start asking your friends different types of questions. Start doing things differently. The same old, are you okay? It's so easy to answer with a I'm good.
I'm good.
Or I'm okay.
I'm
right?
Cool.
Like that's the easy answer, right? Like that's what we all say is I'm good, but start asking different questions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And start making your friends think a little bit about their own emotional health and about their own mental health. And start creating those safe spaces. Like we need safe spaces for each other. I feel like we are our own village.
Thank you for the village, Terrence.
Thank you.
How can I support you? Yes.
Exactly. What do you need from me today?
Yes.
I think these are like my man Horace, right is wrong. So please go follow that brother. He's dope.
Yes. Absolutely.
And we've got to get to a place that we are each other's village. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that we have to do.
Right, Joni. You have to be ready for the answer. Yep.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Like that's something like when I'm gonna
call you after this, just so you know.
Like when I asked Stauna, like how's she feeling, like what's going on with her? I'm ready for the answer. I'm ready for the smoke.
And I'm
ready to get on the phone. I'm ready to get on the phone at any moment and be like, yo, who I gotta see, what I gotta do, how far do I gotta travel? I'm ready for the
True.
you got to be ready to do that.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? If they're in your village.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And of course, it's like she said, like, yes, have boundaries and, things like that. But when it comes to your village, man, like we really, we can have conversations about, sports and the parties and the drinks and all of that stuff is cool. You know what I'm saying? But we got to start stimulating different types of conversations. You know what I'm saying? Because we're in different times. Our mental health is not good. Our emotional health is not good. We're operating on fumes, it feels like, for a lot of us.
Wow.
Like we're operating on E. Like we got the 95 Accord, and that we know that we can go on 5 hours. You know what I'm saying? Even when the tank hit E, it got a little reserves on. That's what we on. No, that's what we on.
Sorry.
And for people, all right, look. I'm not the only one back in the day who couldn't afford a bunch of gas. All right, cool. Maybe that was just me, but I know about it. When you want to eat and then you got that little reserve and you still riding because hey, you know what? This still got another half hour in me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of us are operating mentally
but it's also
and emotionally
hard to find
in that space.
Where you can do that, where you can be honest, where you can lay that down. And like Joni said, being in the space, to facilitate a conversation such as not everybody is, but it's tough, I find, to find spaces where you can just, right? Like,
and that's what I'm saying. But we got to create those for our people.
For me, and I hear this from others about the guilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, I know my worst days are a lot of people with dream for them, right? I can't speak to wanting from a financial, like, come on, my life is pretty good, right? And so when
I know.
when you're having those moments and when you're challenged, and to say that you have those too, and that's okay, and that doesn't mean you're not grateful for all the good and all the great things that happen. And even when people look at celebrities like, well, why are they mad? Well, money ain't it, right? It's really not. So much more to make us all that we are. And so thinking about our emotions, are your emotions cared for, is a big question I'm asking people now. Are your emotions being cared for? I'll ask the question, how is your soul today? How is that feeling?
That was a major question. That's a major question. And that's an example that I always give about you, is that when you first started asking me that question, it made me stop in my tracks and really think about it. You know what I'm saying? Some questions one question I asked is, hey, listen, on a scale of 1 to 10, where is your mental health today?
Where are you today? Yeah.
Where are you right now?
Yeah.
And
I think it started with my partner. The person I was speaking to, I was just like, I wouldn't ask necessarily where. I would just say, like, listen, today I'm at like 28. I think that's where I am today. Just so you know.
But you volunteer that.
Yeah.
But you also volunteer that information. What I'm saying is a lot of people don't. Yeah. So to ask those questions, you got to be able to ask those questions to make it kind of like, well, damn, like, where am I at today? Am I at like, scale from 1 to 10, am I at a 5 or am I at a 3? Yeah. Like, where am I at? To get those juices flowing, to feel comfortable, because he or she might say, man, like, damn, this person cares.
So where are you today,
you know what I'm saying? Me today, I'm at like an 8, because I'm flying out tomorrow. So I'm at an 8. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. I am good. Quick little trip. I ain't even packed yet, so it is what it is. This is more important.
Good.
This is absolutely more important. I think that these conversations are something that should be had a lot more. And first I just want to just say, thank you for having this conversation. We just went another 30 minutes. But thank you for this conversation. I really do appreciate it. You didn't have to come on and share and be vulnerable, or even have this conversation with me. Thank you for always being available to me. Thank you for always being in my corner. Nobody's better than you. I always tell you that. I don't even call you Stauna, which is absolutely, utterly ridiculous. Every time I call, hey, Queen, what's up? That's what it is. And it's been like that for years, and it will continue to be so. Please follow her. Please interact with her. She is amazing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you can tell she's amazing. She's just given up about 2.5 hours of her time to pour out and to pour into us. So I just want to say thank you.
No, I return that with gratitude. and thanks for creating this platform, for having these conversations, for inviting me to speak, and for having it so unscripted that we're just, flowing with whatever the energies are. So thank you for all that you have done and continue to do, and continue to elevate us, to have these conversations, to get in the uncomfortable spaces, to create growth, and so much more. So eternal gratitude to you and to every person who comes in here, who's listening, who's sharing this back with other folks, and who's having conversations and taking some of this forward. So really appreciate you doing this and having me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I definitely do appreciate it. I can say this with confidence. That is a wrap. I am sure we will do this again.
What?
If y'all want us to do it again, then just let us know. If you want us to do it again, then just let us know. Wait, what is that?
You bring up a great point, right? And it's like we're just going. I think we a lot of us are compartmentalizing and putting emotions aside because we're too focused on the survival, and what's in front of us, and oftentimes that means we are reducing our opportunities to connect, or even allow ourselves to experience the emotion, to have them, and then it sticks there, and it can really get toxic, right, for us if we're not addressing the emotion that we're experiencing. But yes, it's competing priorities, right? So if you're thinking about putting food on the table versus making sure you're okay, oftentimes the food on the table will take precedence. And when the food on the table takes precedence, you suffer. And so it becomes a game of, well, what's most important? And like we said before, when you think about the airplane, you got to put your mask on, right? You got to make sure you're okay and you're surviving first. And so looking to find that balance and how to do that is really hard in these times, especially just with all the different challenges that are being thrown our way. And I think this was the last one that Terrence and I were doing. We had one last year. And right, Terrence? Yeah. And I'm not,
it
not
was
that
July.
I'm trying to be opposed to it, but I don't know what we would be speaking about. I feel like we speak about, okay, you're getting ideas, so I'm going to stop right there.
Yeah. I mean, because we could talk about we could figure that out. That's easy. That's the easy part. But I will tell the brother, we also live in a society where we live in a can't stop, won't stop society. Or we live in a society to where taking care of your mental health isn't really cool. It's like sleep is the cousin of death. Like we grew up in that era, like where it's just, we got to always be on go. Don't take time for you. Don't take time for your mental health. Don't take time for your emotional health. And then we always say, oh yeah, but it's for the money. But man, like that's just kind of just the way that we've operated, especially if you live in New York.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we got to take time out to take care of ourselves. You know what I'm saying? To really to know ourselves, because a lot of us are moving 1,000 miles a minute and don't even know ourselves.
I can't believe this.
I mean, look, if you want to open a second bottle, we can go.
No. I have work tomorrow. I had work to do tonight.
I got a flight tomorrow morning too. I ain't even packed yet.
You guys, thank you.
Yeah, listen. Thank you guys. We appreciate you. We can go on forever, but we definitely do gotta go. Thank you again, Queen. You are amazing. Thank you for everything. Thank you for spending the last 2 hours and 15 minutes with us. But it wasn't in void.
It wasn't.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't in void. It was absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you always. I will never stop telling you that. You know that. Thank you for everything.
You. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
And don't forget, Terrence, the merch. I'm wearing the shirt. This is Terrence's
all right.
merch.
So yeah. She's definitely plugging me.
I don't want to get too high because, like I said, I have no bottoms. But
yeah. She's definitely plugging me right now. I appreciate it.
She
also got that
has
at the
one of them on, right? Do you want to show your shirt?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Yes. Emotional intelligence and sexy as.
Yeah.
Yep.
I need one of those, but I'd like it on a tag.
It definitely is.
Okay, great.
It definitely is. That's at the Tillman Collection. Yeah, you can definitely check that out. I got a whole line there. It's geared to uplift and motivate and inspire you guys. That's really all I'm about. But thank you again for coming on. I appreciate it. Again, we will do this again. I know we will. Horace, we got a part 2. Horace, I'm coming for you. We got a part 2.
I can't wait, Horace. I cannot wait.
Yeah. That's coming.
Open your comments.
Yeah, Stauna. Yeah, we got like a part. Yeah, we coming too. Yeah, I got some. Yeah. How you doing?
Good night, everybody. Good
I
night.
always
Good
thought
night.
about it.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See y'all next week.